we are going through our core values. And this series is about who we are as a church and then what we exist for. Because there's being and doing to every human being that you look at. You have a being and a doing part to you. And every organism that is your family, your marriage, it's an organism. If it's human in nature at its core, then it is an organism, whether it's an individual or a community. And we as a church, when we look at us as a group of people who are believers in Jesus Christ, been pulled out of the world, and now we've been made other. You realize you're made of divinity. We're going to talk about that today. Now we are an organism, and we've entitled this series, We Are the Church, subtitle, We Exist for the World. Now, when you're talking about core values, you're talking about the being, not the doing. There's the ministry, and we, of course, want to exist for the world, but what is he shaping us into? What is he turning us into? This is about who we be. And you know, at the end of all of our messages, we talk about and like to remind you of love, grow, serve, share. We always say, may you let Jesus live his life through you as you love, grow, serve, share. And as you take in these, this is what it means when we say, forming Christ in you. He is forming you into the image of Jesus Christ. What specifically will it look like? Well, it'll look like love. It'll look like grow. I'm on a continuous pursuit of growth. It'll look like serve and share. And we're covering that over the course of, and last week, I just want you to get last week's message if you didn't get it. When we talked about love, that will shape your marriage. As you memorize faces and really understand what Jesus meant by, and be a marriage of forgiveness, and have your family and the way that the parents are relating to kids, or you and your friendships with your bros, right? With your guy friends, as you are believers in Jesus Christ and growing as a small group, or maybe it's not a small group, but you're a group of Christians. Like, if you will allow, forgive, accept, care, encourage, and submit to define who you are, that's what Jesus meant when he said, love one another, you'll become the light of the world. You'll be attractive to a lost and dying world, to all the guys who, you know, they may even make fun of the community, the brotherhood that you have. But what's going on is you're planting a seed. You are a light to the world. That's what he's forming in us through these core values. Love, grow, and serve, and share. Now, when you think about growth, I want us to commit to an ongoing pursuit of growth. Not to say, well, I've grown enough and I'm going to stop. Not to say that, well, I'm beyond certain Christians, so I'm doing better than most Christians. Well, I'm at church, and I know a lot of Christians who say that they're Christians, but they don't go to church. At least I'm in church, and I go there once a week, and that be where you stop. This isn't an arrival mentality. This isn't I have arrived, or it's past tense. It's never past tense. It's continual growth, continually allowing yourself to be shaped, and it comes from a place of rest. That may be why a lot of you are stunted in your growth, and you've even begun to fold your hands, because I just watched about 5 people do that. And they're like, oh, it just never ends. And there's always like a carrot dangling out in front of me. The reason why you may be stunted in your growth is because you believe wrongly about God. And God's saying, no, this is about abiding. This is about resting, remaining. This is about dwelling in me in a sea of love that is me, and it's an ocean that never ends. And as you allow yourself to be comforted by me, as you allow yourself to trust in my provision for you, the promises that I've made for you to always provide for you, if you'll just rest in my word, I will grow you. I will grow you. So keep it ing. Don't let it fall into ed. And I want to start off with an analogy, and I think it's pretty appropriate for Mother's Day, but I want to point out to you that a baby in utero grows in darkness. You thought about that? And the longer it stays in the darkness, 40-week term, the more it grows. And it's actually unhealthy for the baby to be taken out of the womb early. We know that when it's super early, they got to go into NICU and they may not survive. We know that, there might be some things that are stunted if it's 2 or even 3 weeks. The longer that a baby stays in darkness, and that's what we kind of think about when we think about the difficulties and the circumstances, and we shake our fist at God. Why did you allow this to happen in my life? Darkness. When we hit dark times in our life, we shirk that and we say, I'm not going to embrace the growth that God wants to do in my life. And verses like James 1 and 2 that says, consider it pure joy when you experience trials of many kinds, those are foreign to us. And he says, but when you consider it pure joy, because you know what happens in the darkness, right? That I will form the character of God in you. And that verse ends with perseverance, producing perseverance, which is one of the fruits of the Spirit. It's producing the life of God. That's what Romans 8, 28 and 29 are all about too. Every good and perfect gift. That's James 1:17. But God, all things work for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose, who he is. And that verse ends with, in verse 29, conforming to the image of Jesus Christ. So don't let your destiny be shirked. Don't miss your destiny because you aren't on the stage yet, because you aren't in the light, because people aren't noticing you. You're like, well, because people aren't noticing me, God's not using me, God's not got a plan for my life. You're taking the baby out of the womb too early, and you're stunting your growth. It's not good for the baby. So don't give up on growth just because you've hit dark times or difficulties or trials. See it as a gift. He's growing you. The darkness is where faith is forged.